Get your running shoes on. It's time to run or walk for a cause that matters. Join Gilda's Run Walk Sunday, October 5th in Middleton to support local families facing cancer. Run a self-timed 5K, walk 2 miles, or jumpstart with their free Couch to 5K program. And at the finish line, enjoy burgers, ice cream, and fun for all ages. Register by August 31st for early bird pricing and the official event t-shirt. Sign up now at gildasrunwalk.com. This is CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, and here's what Madison's talking about. We're a month away from the final goodbye of the storied Madison institutions, Betty Lou Cruises and Mariners Inn. Jack, how are you holding up?
Well, it's been a mix of emotions, that's for sure.
Well, Jack, I should probably formally introduce you. I am talking today with Jack von Rutenberg, co-owner of the beloved lakeside restaurant Mariners Inn and iconic Betty Lou Cruises, which are both closing at the end of this month. Jack, set the scene for us, and for folks who have never been, what is a Betty Lou Cruise?
Well, it's really one of two things. You can have a private charter, which you would typically go with anywhere between 10 and 50 people. And you'd have the whole boat just for your group. And then we also do public cruises where you go with other people, groups of 2, 4, 6, 8. And, you know, those are set times, set menus. The private charters go anytime that the individual wants.
Well, it's such a fun idea, and I want to get the lore and the history. Let's go back to the beginning. Your parents started the family business, Mariners Inn restaurant, in the 60s, right on the lake. And since there's been a family business enterprise, really, with a number of other business ventures along the way. What inspired you all to take that business on the lake? How did Betty Lou Cruises get its start?
Well, it's something that we always thought would be a great fit for Madison, the city of the lakes like this. And we knew that it had to be done a certain way to have it be successful. People had tried it in the past and it didn't work. And we felt we had 3 things that would make it successful where no one else was able to. One was we had the fact we're already in the food business, which is the toughest part of the boat business, is the food part. 2 is that we had the ability to promote it in our existing venues. And obviously, if somebody's coming to eat at Nautica, Captain Mills, or Mariners, they've already proven they like to spend money on food and drink by the water. So naturally, those would be captive audience for somebody that might want to do a cruise. So we had those outlets to promote it. And then the third thing was we had a protected harbor, which is really important because especially on Lake Mendota, just out in the middle of the lake, it's really hard to find the right spot. Protected from the weather or the right pier. And then after you've done that, then you still have to make sure you have parking and you have food service access, et cetera. So we felt we had all those things.
You guys definitely had everything in spades. You had the trifecta there. And I know the answer to this next question. I'm going to throw it out there. Who is Betty Lou?
Yeah, that's an easy one. That was my mother. And in addition to someone that just worked in our businesses, she was kind of a Madison icon of sorts in the hospitality business. She loved Madison, loved the water, loved the lakes, loved people, loved the hospitality business. And we knew we were going to do this business. She died in 1996. We started Betty Lou in 1998. She knew we were going to do this business eventually, but she didn't know we were going to name it after her. So it was a perfect legacy to name it after her. And it's certainly very fitting because it represents what she was all about.
So gorgeous. And what a great place to be an icon in hospitality. Like that's top tier in Madison.
Yeah. Well, I tell people, how many people that you know that aren't, famous people, politicians, sports stars, entertainment people, people that aren't in that realm, like she wasn't. How many people that aren't one of those categories do people talk about on a regular basis 30 years after their death? And every day people talk about Betty. And that shows you how iconic and wonderful she was. The number one thing that comes up when people talk about Betty is that she had a verbal menu. Our menu was much smaller back then in the beginning. And she did a verbal presentation of it that was quite risque. And at the time, then versus now, and also the fact that she could get away with it, she was able to pull it off, and people loved it because they would bring in groups and she would find the one that would be most embarrassed or the one that they appointed to be embarrassed. And she would start out on this verbal menu and say things like, you know what I'm doing right now, sir? I'm going up your loin. And she says, no, not that loin, the steaks. We're going to talk about the steaks. And so let me talk as we go up the loin. I'm going to tell you about the different cuts of meat as we go up the loin.
Incredible.
Yeah, so she had a knack for that, and people still remembered. It was a wonderful bit of showmanship and pretty neat stuff. And, we're talking about Betty because we're talking about Betty Lou Cruz's, but let's not forget about the Bill and Betty, my dad. It was a great mix because my mother was the flamboyant show person, and my dad was the ex-Marine, take your lunch pail to work mentality, no matter how tough times got. He had the mental toughness and fortitude behind the scenes, always making sure stuff was ready to go, fixed, the steadiness and the mental toughness. Because there were many times in the early years that we had almost lost the restaurant because, the previous owner left and we hadn't built up the crowd yet, and it was out in the middle of nowhere, and there were some really tough times. But he had the fortitude to just keep going, never quit. Athletic background. He played football at the UW. So between the Marines and the athletic background, he really was the strength and the backbone. And it gave my mom the ability to do those things that she could, be the show person. So it was a great, great combination. And I'm grateful that they were my bosses, and then they became my co-owners. And then, eventually they weren't there anymore, but they taught us a lot of great things. And to have them as parents, we were very fortunate. The three boys that were their sons, were incredibly fortunate to have them as parents because even though they were hardworking and successful, they always put family first. So just wanted to give a shout out to my dad too, because I know Betty gets the limelight because she was so much out in front and popular, but they wouldn't have been able to do it without the other half, especially with that mix of strengths and personalities.
That's a particularly great mix. Like, that chemistry is so important. You need someone who's the stable, backbone of the operations, and somebody who's also a backbone, but in a different way, and the showman. Like, I love that. And I just wish I could have heard one of the verbal menus. So that sounds really, really fun.
Yeah, she'd start out by saying at the Mariners Inn, you can't get too familiar with the menu because I'm it. That was her opening line.
Yeah, keep some space.
Yeah, and then she had the ending line is, "We'll put sunshine in your smile and spring in your heart," and that was a little line from her father and grandfather. So.
Oh, there's so much family magic. I'm so glad that we're talking with you because it's good to hear some of the background and what really made this possible and the staying power for Betty Lou Cruz's and for Mariners Inn, for sure. It seems like the Betty Lou Cruz's are also just really fun. Do you have any other memories or moments that stand out about times on the boat or funny things that happened or other standout moments?
Well, probably some of the funniest ones are things I probably can't talk about in public. But what's neat about the Betty Lou is that, like I said, no one had really ever been able to make it work long term, or at least not in the concept that we were trying to do. And there were some memorable things in the beginning that I remember because, we believed in the project. We took our time to really study it. We studied it 14 years prior to our first cruise. The first 12 of those were very general background, and then my mom passed away in 96, and we decided to ramp up that research and really dig into it because we wanted to start that business. We just felt that because we had those components I mentioned earlier, and we felt we had a great namesake, we felt we could do it. But our business advisor, who was an accountant and an attorney and all kinds of executive degrees, we told him we wanted to do this, and he said, "Why would you want to serve food on a boat?"
He must never have had food on a boat.
Well, all he saw was risk. And, we're entrepreneurial, and he was our advisor, so he was risk averse to counter us, which is good. But he said, "Why would you want to serve food on the boat?" And I said, "What do you mean?" He said, "Well, why would you want to do that?" And I said, "Because it's something Madison should have, and we had the unique capabilities to be able to do it and make it succeed, where no one else to that point had." And he said, "Well, I don't tell you what to do. You know that. I just advise you. But we're meeting at the Mariners in a window table." He points out to the end of the pier. He says, "If it sits out at the end of the pier all year and it never leaves the dock, you'll sell it for 30 cents on the dollar at the end of the year. And will it put you out of business? No, it'll hurt a lot. You're not that big. It won't hurt. It'll hurt a lot, but we'll put you out of business? No. So if you want to try it, go ahead and try it. So we put a little pro forma together, and we realized that we needed to do 60 cruises to, survive, like not drain money. We needed to do 80 to justify that there was any hope for a year or two. And we also had to charge an average of $40 a person and average 30 people in the boat. This is back in early 90s. And again, nobody had done this at any price point before. Our business advisor really laughed at us when we said we're going to average $40 a person and put 30 people on each boat on average. He says, who's going to pay $40 to go on a boat? And we said, that's just it. If it isn't special enough, people won't want to come back and bring their friends. They'll go once, say, done it. And we can't survive by that once done it thing. So we went into that off season, bought the boat in October. Didn't have a menu, didn't have pricing, didn't have anybody hired, but we did know we wanted to do it, and we had a boat, and we had a customer base from the restaurants. So we made up a postcard. I'd taken a picture, really rudimentary, back in the early 90s. Took a picture from my boat of the Capitol skyline, and I took a picture of this boat sitting in Pewaukee in the water the summer before we bought it. And I had somebody Photoshop those, and it looked sort of realistic. What it did is it let people know that this is going to be a motor yacht. It's not going to be just a boat. And so with that picture and a postcard we did from it, setting it out at the restaurant and talking it up at the restaurants, we had our first crew meeting in March. And we'd hired like 8 crew to get started and 2 captains or something. And I said, you guys are going to make history. And they said, what are you talking about? And I said, well, we went into this year saying we need to absolutely do 60 and really need to do 80 or we're not going to be here. And we don't have a menu. We don't have pricing, but we already have, it was like 165 people signed up to do cruises. And we hadn't even got to the training yet.
Who'd be interested again?
And we said, we don't even have pricing or a menu. They said, we don't care. Just tell us when you have it. We want to do it. This is the date we want. And so I told the crew, we're going to make history because we haven't even had our first training session. You've already got way more business, triple the business than what we thought we might. So it was off to a good start. There was a demand, and then you had to execute because otherwise people don't come back and bring their friends. So it's really been a super fun thing to have in Madison. It's nice to look out and see that go around the lake and knowing that that's here in Madison and has been here in Madison for 28 years. And we hope that it stays here in Madison. And we've priced it very aggressively so that it can stay. Some of the issues we had in starting, the new people won't have because there was no name recognition. There was no existing customers. I mean, we have all that and we have the familiarity and we've got the concept and the systems down. So, there's a lot of hurdles that are already, been crossed that the new person, will have that information.
Yeah, I was going to say, in terms of the marketing and make it special and you need people to tell other people about it. This is just the perfect opportunity for people to make memories. This is decades of people making memories and having family photos and sharing,
Yes, very much so. And it just there's something about whether it's neighbors, long-term friends, corporate, you name it. There's just something about being on the boat that it's, I can honestly say, because I just did the neighbors cruise a week or so ago, it's really kind of magical and it's really special.
Well, you talked about, handing it over. I've seen flyers about buying Betty Lou cruises. You've given a pretty good pitch. I don't know if you have anything to add for that pitch, but, who should be the next cruise owners? What do they look like? Who are you hoping to hand this on to? Well,
somebody local. We'd love to keep it on the Madison Lakes. And somebody that, has a passion for hospitality. We've had quite a few people that have expressed an interest, but there are some things that need to be worked out, especially, where they would keep it. And we're doing some preliminary work on that. And there might be people that have some creative ideas on that as well. So, and I would think Madison as a whole, Madison/Dane County as a whole, I think they would see real value in having something like that stay in town. And I would hope so. And be nice to know that people are working together to find solutions to try to make it work. And the number one thing is, trying to find that port. The catering part isn't a big deal. Matter of fact, if we didn't have excess kitchen space in the Mariners when we started Betty Lou, we probably would have hired a caterer and kept it real simple because, we're not really a catering business. We're a restaurant. But we had the space and, we said, why not? We'll do it. But our advice for somebody new, unless you already have a tie-in to a restaurant that you might own or something, our advice would be probably do the parts that are easy and profitable and don't require the bricks and mortar or the equipment or the huge payroll, and focus on, renting the boat and doing the bar and the food, have somebody else cater it. It could be done either way, but that's one thing that I think would open up the market to a bigger variety of people. I think people think there's kind of a misconception that people think, oh, we have to produce our own food. And I would actually advise against it. I think it's a lot easier to let the caterers do catering and just charge to run the boat and charge for the bar.
When you hear entrepreneur or investor, who comes to mind? If it's not someone who looks like the fleece-vested bros or sitting in the Shark Tank chairs, that's the problem. At Doyen, they champion women and marginalized gender individuals building audacious businesses and supporting investing in the future of innovation. Doyen supports the whole person, professionally and personally, because building a business shouldn't mean sacrificing who you are. Whether you're just starting out, scaling fast, planning your exit, or want to learn how to invest in the next big thing, they've got your back. They're a nonprofit with virtual programs and ongoing opportunities available year-round. Visit www.doyengroup.org to get involved. Let's build an entrepreneurial ecosystem that reflects all of us. Remember that amazing little cafe you discovered last summer with the perfect latte and crazy view? Or that sweet hiking spot your friend told you about but you can't remember the name? With Overlook Maps, special places never get lost again. Create personal lists of places you've been and want to go. Build your must-visit list for your next vacation, your foodie favorites for date nights, or your weekend getaways when you need to escape. Share your favorite hidden gems with friends and family. Let them discover that incredible barbecue joint you found, or that scenic overlook that takes your breath away. Or keep your secret spots completely private. Planning a trip with friends? Create a shared list where everyone can add their ideas. Visiting a new city? Check out lists from locals who know the real gems, not just the tourist traps. And here's the best part. No ads cluttering your lists. No one selling your data to advertisers. Just your personal collection of amazing places organized exactly how you want them. Overlook Maps, collect, organize, and share the places that matter to you. Download free at overlookmaps.com and check out overlookmaps.com/Madison to see some of our lists and great spots on a map and in your pocket. Your places, your way. Let's talk about the beloved Supper Club Mariners and what's the plan there? Are you hoping someone continues the legacy at the Mariners Inn as well?
Well, we're hoping somebody continues a legacy of a restaurant there and a place that people really feel it's an asset. The neighborhood, the town, and the greater Madison-Dane County area feels that it's an asset. It's not going to be Mariners as far as the existing building. It's going to be a mixed-use project of a marina, which is already there and already functioning. They're just going to continue to operate it. A new restaurant being built, and then some apartments. So that mixed use currently is restaurant, marina, and Betty Lou. It's going to change to restaurant, marina, and apartments. Not a ton of apartments, but a small apartment project. And all three of those facets will really play off each other and really help each other. And I can't really get into who might be the restaurant at this point. As a matter of fact, the developers that are buying the property haven't even decided yet. But I know that they're working with ideally local people and working with some really good companies. And I think whatever ends up there, because there are so few restaurants on the lake, it will really attract a high quality restaurant operator. I've seen the preliminary renderings for the building, which incorporates the apartments and the restaurant in one building. And first floor is just all glass, all restaurant, just beautiful. And it's going to be a dynamite project. And we've served the public for 59 years at the Mariners. And I think now it's time for something new to serve the public for the next 59 years. And I think this design and concept has the ability to do that. I know I'll be a very regular customer because I live about 6 minutes down the road in Wanakee, on the very near side of Wanakee to the Mariners. And I keep my boat at Mariners already. So I will probably be their best customer. The only thing is when I walk out the door, I won't be turning the key. I'll just be going home saying, I don't have to think about this 24 hours a day, 7 days a week.
Right. I can just sit down and relax.
Yeah. So I'm really looking forward to, and the people that have bought the property that are doing the overall development are local as well. Lakestone Properties out of McFarland. They're young, energetic guys that really care about the water, really care about having a restaurant there, really care about the boating public, making sure there's waterfront restaurants that stay. So it's kind of a hand-picked situation. There are other people that, would have done a much bigger, grander project, but that wasn't our interest. Our interest was saying what works long-term, keeps a restaurant there and works long-term for the area. And I really think that these guys will do a great job.
Longevity is key, and it sounds like a wonderful use of the space, and excited to see all that glass windows, and that sounds really pretty.
One thing I should add is that it's not likely going to be called Mariners, but I think the restaurant and the apartments will certainly use some of the decor and try to pay homage to, the stories that have been established there so far, which I think is neat. I don't know that for sure yet because we haven't finalized who the restaurant lessee will be, but I know that the developers are really trying to weave some of the feel of the Mariners into the apartment project and the restaurant if possible. So hopefully that's the case that happens.
You guys deserve some homage. Jack, obviously this is a family-run business and has been since the 60s. You told us about your incredible parents who passed the business down to now you run the business. They started with your brother. What has it meant to you to be a part of this legacy?
It's interesting. My parents were incredibly education-oriented for us and never pushed us in the business. And we all ended up in it for some period of time, all three boys. They were wonderful about never pushing us into it. They always said, this is something that if you have a passion for it, you want to do it, there's room. But if you don't, that's fine. Get a good education, go pursue whatever you want in life. There's no expectation. Matter of fact, we'd probably prefer you to do something else to really make sure you're exploring whatever it is in life you want to do. And so my brother Bill got out of UW-Madison, a business major, went right into, we'd all done this since we were little kids, like 5 years old. We'd all worked at the restaurant. But out of college, he went right into business, and that was right the year that Naughty Gal was built. So he went into managing that right out of college. I went to medical school at UW-Madison for a year and then decided to come back and join the business. And my brother Robert joined in 2000, way after we got started. Before that, he was in the textile business, textile sales in Chicago and then New York. So he decided to come back to the business. Coincidentally, he was the last one in and the first one out. He last time he was active was about 2018. He was the smart one. He got in last and got out first. But all kidding aside, what was neat about having the three brothers involved was that we're all, just like my parents were different personalities, the three of us, you ask any of our managers or team members, and they will just crack up and saying, how different we all three were. My brother Bill is more the accounting office, task-oriented guy. I'm more the people, business development, visionary, and my brother Robert was more the aesthetics and visual effects and the special touches as far as the decor and the architecture and and it transferred to like banquets and food and parties and all that, the aesthetics, the creative part. So we all had totally different skills and they all blended well. That's good because you don't want to have duplication. And we certainly none of us were trying to be our mom or our dad because nobody could be and necessarily should we be. That was their thing and we needed to do it our way. But fortunately, we had a wide variety of talents and abilities with us and our team that, we've been able to get it done for now, literally, I guess it's been technically 64 years if you count the Nibble Nook, a little hamburger place we started before the Mariners. So,
I mean, it's all in the family. You guys really had a lot covered there. And is a winning recipe. So I ask, why retire now?
Why retire now? Wow. People have been asking me that. Yeah. I have a lot of gas left in the tank, and I will seek out the Lord to figure out where that takes me next. But I think it's just a combination of looking at everybody's goals. And my younger brother, like I said, he's been out of it since about 2018. But my older brother and I, he's 2.5 years older, and he'll be 67, I guess, this December. And I'll be 65 next April. And so he's a little older. We're both married. Our wives, he's been married 40 years. I've been married 34. That's unheard of in the restaurant business, to work the kind of schedule we have and stay married. And they've both been extremely good about, frankly, getting put secondary to the restaurant demands, because, the restaurants, they present urgency at times, to word it gently, I guess. And they've been very, very good about that. So, their cooperation with our schedules is pretty extraordinary. And I think that, I think it's trying to match everybody's goals. My wife, his wife, my brother, and myself, match everybody's goals. And we first started talking about this in 2016, just to start the conversation going. And then we started taking action by slowly streamlining and selling off things starting in 2021. So it hasn't been rushed. And when we made our announcement on purpose, we did it 14 months prior to the day we're done, because we wanted to have our long-term employees look for a new career, our shorter-term employees to flourish and have great tip income during the end, and our customers to have a chance to do, especially the milestone events. By having it be more than a full year, there was a guarantee that any milestone event that they wanted to do there, they could. And, the opposite is too often true in restaurants, where all of a sudden somebody shows up and the door's locked, or in a week we're done. And we really want to do the opposite of that. It was for our staff, for our customers. And to tell you the truth, it was a little bit for my brother Bill and I too, because there's a process to going through this, and it's exciting, it's celebratory, it's bittersweet, it's a lot. And I think by having a nice long rollout, it's allowed us to accept it, and we're comfortable with it. We're at peace with it. And it's a nice way to go out. I mean, we've had a great run, fantastic run. We met incredible people on all of our teams. I mean, I think I added up the years of operating we did, and I put in a little thing on Facebook so you can check it for details, but I think it's like 203 years of operation each. I mean, each of us, if you add up all the places.
Collectively.
Yeah. And, and it was kind of like, wow, I never thought of it that way. And when you're caught up in it and you love what you're doing, you just do it. But then when you get past it, it's like, wow, that's intense. And my daughter said, she's like, Dad, you've had the on switch on 24 hours a day for, like, in management anyway, 40 years. And with before that working, but in management 40 years. And she says, you'll probably, appreciate that once you're done. Right now, it's just what you do,
Mm-hmm.
And not complaining at all. I mean, it's been, like I said, it's been a great ride.
Yeah, it's not coming off as complaining at all. It just sounds like you had mentioned that you loved what you did. Obviously, everything comes with challenges, but the love makes the time go fast, and it's gone really fast is what I was picking up. And I did just want to put a note on you laying out just how thoughtful the exit process has been, having this year, the years leading up to it. You guys put 14 years in before you even launched Betty Lou Cruises. Y'all were a well-oiled ship, okay? And you talked about Bill, your dad, and that he was a Marine. Like, y'all, it sounds like you guys really have things working well and just really thoughtful, it's just really incredible to hear. I wanted to ask briefly, what has the reaction been like from the community? You talked about, so many people have just worked for y'all, but I know that you mean a lot to, people who just come in, regulars. And I imagine you're probably hearing from folks who say, like, I need to either go on a cruise one last time or get into the restaurant one last time.
Yeah, we've had some of that. In a word, it's been heartwarming. People have just been unbelievably kind and heartfelt in expressing their love for the place and their time there and their events and memories there, and appreciation for my family. And it's just been truly heartwarming, way beyond expectations. And one of the things we've got coming up, which I think will be really neat, is we're doing a team event for not only our teams right now of our 3 businesses currently running the, Mariners and Betty Lou in our marina, but also any employee that's worked at any of the 5 businesses over the years. That's going to be a couple days after our last day, and that's going to be really cool. And I've had several of those people that have worked 20, 30, 40 years ago come in over the last few months because they want to, come out one more time, which is really cool. In addition to that, we're going to have a night for everybody from way back. And it'll be really interesting because we'll have people that are literally, only a month or 2 working at the restaurant, meet people that were there 50 years ago. And I'm looking forward to that. So, and somebody's got to use up the food and drinks, right? I mean,
yes, it is time for the party. And it kind of says it all that you have people wanting to come back from decades past, just about the magic that is the businesses that you put on. Jack, this has been very heartwarming. Thank you so much for your time and the joy and the great food and adventures your family has provided for the community. It's really awesome and heartening, as I said. So I wish you the best in retirement, and I hope you have the most fun in this month.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate the kind words and for you taking time to hear our story.
That's Jack von Rutenberg, co-owner of Betty Lou Cruises and Mariners Inn. If you want to take a final voyage, head to our show notes for a link. That's all for today, here on CityCast Madison. I'm Bianca Martin, your host. Don't forget, you can support this show and get great perks by becoming a CityCast Madison neighbor at membership.citycast.fm. If you enjoyed today's show, why not share this episode with someone who loves a family business? Quickly before we go, we do have some exciting news for us Midwesterners. CityCast is coming to the Twin Cities. There are a number of open positions that include host, creative producer, and senior account executive. So if that sounds like something you or someone you know would be interested in, head to citycast.fm to learn more. All right, we'll be back tomorrow morning with more stories from around the city. Until then, take good care.